What's good, y'all? It's your boy, Mr. Positivity. My bad, you already know I'm driving. I'm leaving the gym. I got in a total of about like 28 rounds today. It was a light day for me, man. Oh, I gotta get that on. It was a light day for me, man. I'm having shoulder problems. Any of y'all have shoulder problems, man? I'm trying to figure out how to, like, you know what I'm saying, fix it. Everybody telling me I need to take some rest days, but you know how that go, man. You end up taking 2 rest days, that ends up rolling over to 3 to 4. So I'm not trying to take no rest days, but I gotta figure something out with my shoulder, man. My shoulder, it's my right one, man. It's really preventing me from doing a lot of things. Well, not necessarily preventing me from doing anything. It's just not allowing me to do things at my fullest potential. It's holding me back because, man, there's a lot of pain going on. But anyways, this ain't about me. Let's talk about it, man. I wanted to talk about Billy Joe Saunders. And the reason I wanted to talk about Billy Joe Saunders is simply because why is it that no one ever talks about Billy Joe Saunders, right? Obviously, Billy Joe is coming off a rough year, right? 2018 was probably a year he would like to forget about. Not the best year when it comes to basically, the drug suspension and, that whole thing that happened in the car with that crackhead that, what I'm saying, he got fined for, I believe, and then he also had that small dispute with Deontay Wilder's team, which I thought was hilarious, by the way, but not the greatest year, not the greatest year for Billy Joe Saunders when we're talking about last year. So a lot of people could chalk it up to being that be the reason, but let's be real, even before that, even the 2017 year was probably perhaps a very, very memorable year for him. No one was still really talking about it. You know what I'm saying? He has some very good wins on his resume. First person to expose Chris Eubank, basically dismantled David Lemieux, which, no one expected that to happen at that time and period of boxing, right? David Lemieux was basically looked at as like the next big thing, right? So why is it no one talks about Billy Joe? Is it because of his attitude? Is it because he's not from the States? He's never mentioned when we talk about top middleweights. He's never mentioned when we talk about who should Canelo fight or who could potentially beat him. He's never mentioned when we talk about the Charlo brothers. He's never mentioned when we talk about he's never mentioned when we talk about Jared Hurd, now new champion Julian Williams. He's never mentioned when we talk about any of the big name middleweights. Billy Joe Saunders' name never comes in the light. We even talk about Callum Smith more than him. We even talk about Chris Eubank Jr. more than him. George Groves, even though he's now retired. Like, all these middleweights has gotten, extensively more coverage, media coverage, whether it be fans just, cheering for them. They've all been in favor of every middleweight other than Billy Joe. Billy Joe always seems to be the one middleweight out of the picture. And my question is, why is that? Because me personally, yes, I'll be honest now, I'm a little biased when it comes to Billy Joe. He's one of my favorite boxers, but I do believe he is a top, at the very least, a top 5 middleweight. If you want to put all the middleweights in a group, if we're talking about PBC, if we're talking about ESPN, we're talking about DAZN as well, I do believe Billy Joe Saunders would be a top 5 middleweight. So it's very interesting to me why someone like Billy Joe Saunders is never mentioned when it comes to having the mega fights, like against the Canelo, against the Triple G, against a Danny Jacobs. We even as of recent, we've heard Canelo call out Callum Smith, which would be an amazing fight, right? Or not necessarily call him out, but they've hinted at possibly a Callum Smith fight next, right? We even heard about Demetrius Andrade, which of course Billy Joe was supposed to fight Boo Boo. Obviously he had that drug suspension, which it was very, definitely tainted Billy Joe's name even more. People didn't like him, and once he got that got pops, man, that just added for people to just stop checking for Billy Joe, right? But in all honesty, I don't think that's fair. A lot of big name fighters have gotten popped and they've been just fine moving along. Of course, one of the biggest names is Canelo. No one really cares that he was popped. So I feel like if Billy Joe, does enough this year and has enough impressive wins, which is his fight he had on Saturday. It wasn't necessarily an impressive win, but he definitely showed how skillful he is as a boxer. A lot of people are saying that no one's impressed because they're calling, the guy he fought a cab driver, and if he was supposed to look like that against him, blah blah blah. Yeah, yeah, whatever. Well, it's boxing, right? The whole point of that fight was just to see how he fared moving up in weight, and not only that, but if he looked anything close to what he looked like coming off that 2017 championship year, right? Well, he has the belt. So there's a lot of things that can happen. The thing is anyone going to be willing to fight him? Billy Joe's called out Callum Smith. I see Callum Smith being the most. I see him being the biggest chance that Billy Joe has at fighting someone with somewhat of a name in the middleweight division. The only thing is Canelo called him out as well. Or like I said, they hinted at fighting Callum Smith. So obviously Smith would fight with Canelo before Billy, because that'd obviously be a bigger payday. So who knows if Billy's gonna get that fight. I want to see him against some high level opposition, because even though everyone's been talking about the fact that Billy isn't as good as everyone thinks, you have to remember he did expose Chris Eubank and he did beat David Lemieux. These are top level boxers, okay? So don't act like Billy's just been fighting cab drivers his whole resume. He has not. That is not true. And Billy Joe, in my opinion, I feel like the reason no one talks about him, not necessarily mainstream media wise, but I mean the top middleweights, is because one, he's like the Luis Ortiz of the middleweight division, right? He's very dangerous to fight. His fundamentals, probably one of the best fundamentally sound middleweights in the whole entire division, but he's not necessarily a draw. No one's checking for Billy Joe, right? And part of that is his own fault, and another part of it is just that maybe it's bad promotion, maybe it's bad management, or just he just ain't had a very impressive win. Either way it goes, I do believe Billy Joe is the boogeyman of the middleweight and super middleweight division. I believe he's a guy that a lot of people do not want to fight unless it makes 100% sense. So this is, in my opinion, it's obviously a bad thing for Billy Joe, but I do believe if Billy Joe can find a way to get himself back in that mainstream media, which I see him by him switching trainers. A lot of people talked a lot of mess about that, but you got to understand the move behind that. He has the same trainer as Tyson Fury now, right? He's under Frank Warren, obviously, which ties to the ESPN. So obviously, what he's doing right now, and this is no disrespect when I say it this way, it's just the first thing that comes to my head. He's kind of riding the coattails of Tyson Fury's fame as of now. He knows Tyson Fury is in mainstream media, he's in the spotlight, so he's probably deciding himself, hey, Tyson Fury's always been my guy. He's always been my best friend. We've always been boys. But let me make this connection we have. Let me be out there a little bit more. As in, everywhere you see Tyson Fury, you're gonna see me, which has a potential of building him up to the point where he can possibly get one of those big name fights. Obviously, the Demetrius Boo Boo Andrade fight not happening really, destroyed Billy Joe Saunders 2018. So he has a lot of work to put in for this 2019 year, but I would love to see them try and reschedule that because I don't see anybody fighting Boo Boo that's of any significance or relevance this year, and I see the same for Billy Joe. So if they can try and make that fight happen again, that would be amazing. But at the end of the day, I'm gonna ask y'all the same question. Why do you think nobody talks about Billy Joe? Whether it be mainstream media, whether it be some of the top super middleweights and regular middleweights. You know what I'm saying? Why does no one ever call his name out? Why does no one ever speak about him? What's your opinion on it? That's my thoughts for today. I'm gonna post another video. I just want to talk about Dominic Brazil a little bit later. But it's Mr. Positive. We stand positive all day long. Hope y'all enjoying your Monday. Monday's always the hardest day to get back into it, but you through it. Enjoy the rest of your night. Hopefully y'all got some work in, because it's always good to get some work in. Y'all already know the game. You already know the deal. I'm about to go grab something from the gas station real quick, hop back in, go back to the crib. BlakGooseTV all day. Stay up.